Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Best English Podcast. And I am just so incredibly thrilled, so truly excited to be here with you today to share a conversation that, for many of you, is at the very heart of your English learning journey. It's about finding your voice, really. You know, we often chat about understanding English, don't we? About how to make your listening sharper, how to figure out grammar rules, and how to grow that awesome collection of words in your head. And all of that, absolutely all of it, is super important. It's like the good soil, the strong roots, that help your English tree grow big and tall. But then, there comes that moment, that key point, where you want to use what you've learned to finally speak. To tell people what you think, how you feel, who you really are, in English. And for many of you who are at that solid intermediate level, that's where the real tough part often shows up. You might find yourself with a mind full of cool ideas, with sentences perfectly ready to go in your head. But then, when it's time to open your mouth, the words just seem to vanish, or they get all mixed up. Or maybe a wave of shyness just takes over, making you completely quiet. If that sounds like you, if you've felt that little bit of worry when someone asks you a simple question in English, or that pang of frustration when you can understand everything being said around you, but just can't seem to jump into the conversation yourself, then please know, you are not alone. And you are in the perfect spot right now, because today we are going on a deep, full journey, a truly human look into how to talk in English. This isn't just another lesson. This is about helping you find your speaking power, making you feel more sure of yourself, and truly connecting with the world through your words. Remember, we put out brand new, helpful episodes every single day to give you a hand on your unique English adventure. So thanks a bunch for joining our wonderful community. So, why does speaking English, especially when you've gotten past the basics and moved into that confident middle stage, why does it often feel like climbing a steep, slippery mountain? You've done the grammar exercises. You've beefed up your vocabulary with apps and books. You might even get most movies without needing the words on the screen. And yet, when it comes to saying what you mean easily, without thinking too much, without that heavy feeling of not being good enough, it can still feel incredibly hard. Let's really dig in here and understand the real human reasons behind this common problem. One of the biggest, most common challenges, it's this quiet, sneaky monster called the fear of making mistakes. Oh, the mistakes! They feel like bright lights shining on our faults, don't they? You worry about saying a word wrong, about using the wrong time for a verb, about using a small word like in or on incorrectly. And this worry, this strong focus on yourself, it can completely stop you dead in your tracks. It makes you pause. It makes you think too much about every single sound before you even say it. And in the end, it often leads to silence, to missing chances to connect, instead of just trying to talk. It's like you're so focused on doing everything perfectly that you forget the main reason for speaking, which is to simply speak, to share, to connect. I remember a young woman named Mia, a brilliant architect from Barcelona, who was living in London. Mia's written English was spot on, truly beautiful. She could draft detailed plans, send clear emails. Her mind was full of English grammar and words. But in social situations, at work get-togethers, or even just asking for coffee, she would often freeze up or speak so softly that you could barely hear her. When I chatted with her, she told me, I just can't. I feel like every time I open my mouth, everyone is waiting for me to mess up. And when I do, my face gets hot. And I just want to disappear. I know the grammar rule in my head, but my tongue won't do what I want. It's like my brain is not connected to my mouth. This feeling of her brain being disconnected from her mouth, that burning shame she felt, it was a huge roadblock for her. She knew the rules, but the pressure to be perfect kept her from using them. It was like she had all the pieces of a puzzle, but couldn't put them together because she was too afraid of putting a piece in the wrong spot. She'd spend ages trying to form a simple sentence, only to have the conversation move on, leaving her feeling even more frustrated and isolated. It was a vicious cycle, you know? Mia's story is very common. Her strong fear of not being perfect, of being judged for even a tiny slip-up, was literally stopping her from speaking. She wasn't trying to communicate well. She was trying to be absolutely flawless. And that search for perfection was actually stopping her from starting. This is the tough spot for learners who want to be perfect. The very wish to be perfect stops any progress at all. We'll talk more about how Mia started to bravely overcome this fear in a little bit. But first, let's look at another deep reason why speaking feels so hard. Another big problem is the habit of thinking in your own language first. For many English learners, your first language is still what your brain uses by default. So, when you want to say something in English, your thought first forms in your native language. Then your brain tries to quickly change each word, each grammar structure, into English. And then, you finally try to speak it. This extra step, this constant quick back and forth translation, it's super slow. It's like trying to find your way in a busy city by looking at two different maps at the same time. It causes a big delay, makes your speech sound broken, and uses up so much important brain power. By the time you've slowly built that perfect sentence in your head, the natural flow of the conversation has probably already moved on, hasn't it? And you're left feeling upset, out of step. Very similar to this translation habit is the challenge of understanding and speaking at the same time. In a normal conversation, especially with native speakers, things move fast, really fast. You hear something, you need to understand it right away. Think of an answer, and then say that answer, all within a few seconds. Your brain is doing so many things at once, hearing sounds, understanding meaning, finding words, building sentences, and then making your mouth muscles work. This mental load, this intense brain workout, can be too much. If your brain is still working hard on step 1 and step 2, it simply doesn't have enough power left for step 3. It leads to those awkward silences, the ums and uhs, or just looking blankly. And then, there's the issue of words you know versus words you actually use. As an English learner, you probably know many words when you read them or hear them. This is your passive vocabulary. But how many of those words can you actively use, say naturally, without stopping, in a conversation? Often, it's a much smaller number. The words you know are sitting quietly in your mental dictionary, but they haven't quite made it to your mental ready-to-speak list. It's like owning a huge library of books, but only being able to quickly grab the same 10 books when someone asks for a recommendation. Closing this gap, moving words from understanding to active use, is a super important step in becoming a fluent speaker. Finally. And this is a very practical problem for many of you. It's the simple lack of regular chances to speak. if you don't live in an English-speaking country, or if your close friends and family don't speak English. Finding regular, real-life chances to practice can be incredibly tough. You might feel alone, like you're learning without anyone to talk to. And without that regular, real-world talking, your English-speaking muscles simply don't get the workout they need to grow strong. But here's the beautiful truth. Every single one of these challenges, every single problem can be fixed step by step, and in the end, you can totally overcome them. It starts with changing how you think, then moves into strong, focused ways to learn, and finally, makes regular practice a part of your daily life. It's a journey, yes, but one that is absolutely possible for you, and one that will bring you great happiness. So, how do we begin to deal with these deep problems? It all starts not with more grammar rules or more lists of words, but with a big change in how you think. This is where the real change happens, inside your own head. Because for English learners, the biggest thing stopping you from speaking is often how you feel, more than how much you know about the language. You already have a good base of English. Now, it's about giving yourself permission to use it, even if it's not perfect, with joy and with courage. The first, most important mindset change is to accept not being perfect, to truly welcome mistakes as a necessary part of learning. Think about it. When a baby learns to walk, they fall a lot. Every little stumble, every little fall is not a failure. It's feedback. It's a tiny piece of information that helps them balance better, make their legs stronger, and, in the end, walk with confidence. Speaking a language is exactly the same. Every grammar mistake, every word said wrong, is simply a step on your journey, a piece of information that shows you where to focus next. It's proof that you are trying, proof that you're learning. And without trying, without stepping into the unknown, you simply cannot get better. Let me tell you about Liam, a wonderfully expressive graphic designer from Berlin. Liam was incredibly good at speaking his native German, but found himself incredibly frustrated when speaking English. He'd often say, "I feel like I'm building every single sentence from zero every time. It's exhausting. I know the words separately, but they just don't seem to click together naturally." Liam was tired of the pressure he put on himself. I encouraged him to try what I called the embracer of chaos mindset, which essentially meant giving himself full permission to make mistakes, to stumble, to sound imperfect. His new goal for speaking was just to make sounds, to share a message, no matter how messy it felt. He started by setting a daily mistake goal. He aimed to make at least 5 clear mistakes every day when speaking English, whether to himself, to his online language partner, or at work. This sounds strange, doesn't it? But by actively looking for mistakes, he reframed them. They were no longer embarrassing failures, but instead, points of success. Yes, I made a mistake. Great. Now I know one more thing to work on. He learned that most people didn't even notice his smaller errors. And those who did were usually very kind and understanding. This big change, from being afraid of mistakes to actively welcoming them, set him free. It was like a heavy weight was lifted from his shoulders. His speech became more smooth, more natural, and strangely, as his confidence grew and he spoke more freely, his accuracy actually started to get better naturally, because he was finally getting the regular practice he needed. His story truly shows that the path to fluent speaking is paved, not by avoiding errors, but by bravely stepping through them. This leads directly into the second very important mindset change. Focus on speaking easily over being perfectly correct. When you're trying to make your speaking muscles stronger, your main goal should be to keep the conversation going, to maintain the flow moving. Don't stop yourself in the middle of a sentence to fix a small grammar mistake. Don't stay quiet for a long time trying to find the perfect word. Just get your message out. Even if it's not perfectly said, even if it has a few small errors. If your listener understands you, then you have achieved the most important goal of talking. Think of it this way. When you're learning to swim, your first goal isn't to win an Olympic race, is it? Your first goal is simply to stay on top of the water, to keep moving through the water, to breathe, and not to sink. You might splash a lot. Your way of swimming might not be good, but you're swimming. You can make your strokes better and swim faster later. Speaking English is just like that. Focus on keeping your head above water, keeping the conversation alive. The fine details and correctness, the accuracy, will come with more practice and experience as you naturally learn the language patterns. The third powerful mindset change is to see and celebrate small wins. When we try to speak easily, we often only focus on the huge gap between where we are now and where we want to be. But that can be very discouraging. Instead, change your focus to the tiny, everyday successes. Did you successfully order food in English today? Did you understand a tricky phrase in a song? Did you manage to say a complex idea, even if it took a moment of thought? These are all huge achievements. Imagine your progress as building a wall. Each brick you put down, each tiny step forward, is a success. If you only focus on the entire wall, it seems too big. But if you celebrate putting down just one brick, then another, the process becomes manageable and deeply rewarding. These small celebrations, these moments of telling yourself you did well, they build momentum, they give you energy, and they create a good feeling that encourages you to keep going. And finally, cultivating confidence like a muscle. Confidence isn't something you either have or you don't. It's not something that stays the same. It's like a muscle in your body. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And the only way to build confidence in speaking English is, well, to speak English, even when you feel worried, especially when you feel worried. Each time you push past that discomfort, each time you open your mouth and say something, you are doing a workout for your confidence muscle. And little by little, day by day, it grows stronger until one day, you realize you're speaking with an ease and naturalness you never thought possible. You can even try imagining success. Before an English conversation, or a meeting, or even just before you practice speaking to yourself, take a moment, close your eyes, and clearly imagine yourself speaking English easily, with confidence, clearly. Imagine the words flowing smoothly from your mouth. Imagine the good reactions of the people listening to you. This mental practice, this strong imagining, prepares your brain. It makes you less worried, and it plants the seeds of success in your mind. It gets you ready for good things to happen. This is a secret tool many successful people use, and it can be very helpful for language learners too. Remember, your English speaking journey begins not just with words, but with courage, with being kind to yourself, and with a deep, strong belief in your own ability to learn and grow. This mindset change, It's the strong ground upon which all other good ways to learn will stand. With that strong base of a good mindset firmly in place, let's now dive into the most helpful, practical ways to practice, the main parts, that will directly help you talk in English more easily, more naturally, and with much more confidence. These aren't just ideas, they're real steps you can put into your daily life, changing your English from something you understand into something you actively do. Pillar 1. Thinking in English. Your brain's new language. We talked about this earlier, but let's go much deeper. One of the biggest things that stops you from speaking easily in English is the constant need to change words from your native language. This slows you down a lot and makes your speech sound unnatural. The goal is to teach your brain to form thoughts directly in English, skipping that translation step. This is perhaps the biggest change you can make for true fluency. It's about teaching your brain a new way to work, how to cultivate thinking in English. Advanced practice. It's not just about simple mental talks, it's about making English your inner voice. Narrate your entire day in detail. Don't just say, "I'm making coffee." Describe the steps. First, I gotta check if there's enough water in the kettle. Then I'll turn on the stove, making sure the flame isn't too high. While the water boils, I'll grind the coffee beans, listening to that satisfying whirring sound. I prefer a medium grind for my pour-over method. The more detail you can add, the more complex your thoughts become in English. Problem solving in English. If you've got a problem to solve at work, or a decision to make in your personal life, try to think it through completely in English. Weigh the good and bad points. Imagine different situations. Picture talks you might have. Okay, I gotta decide between option A and option B for this project. Option A seems cheaper, but option B is better for the long haul. How would I explain this to my boss? This makes your brain deal with complex ideas in English. Review your day in English. At the end of each day, before you hit the hay, mentally go over everything that happened, who you chatted with, what you learned, what problems you faced, what you're thankful for. Do it all in English. This helps you remember how to use past tense, common phrases, and words about feelings. React to the world around you in English. If you see something funny, or surprising, or annoying, form your immediate thought in English. Oh, that car just swerved dangerously. I hope they're okay. Wow, that sunset is absolutely breathtaking. This trains you to think of English answers right away. This ongoing inner talk is a private, no-pressure way to practice speaking. It builds connections in your brain that link ideas directly to English words and sentences, without needing your native language in between. As a practical step, for the next 15 minutes, whenever you are doing a normal activity, like walking to the store, cooking dinner, or waiting for a bus, have a detailed inner talk with yourself. Describe everything you're doing, thinking, seeing, feeling, completely in English. Don't try to translate. Just let the English flow, even if it feels a bit clumsy at first. The more you practice this, the more natural English will feel as your direct thinking language. Pillar 2. Building active vocabulary and phrases. Beyond single words. For English learners, simply knowing individual words isn't enough for speaking easily. You need to know how words fit together, how they're used in natural phrases, and the unwritten rules of conversational chunks. This moves words from your passive understanding into your active speaking toolbox. Focus on chunks of language, collocations. These are words that naturally go together. For example, we make a decision, not do a decision. We have heavy traffic, not strong traffic. When you learn a new naming word, try to learn a common action word that goes with it. When you learn a new describing word, learn a common naming word it describes. This makes your speech sound much more natural and less like it's been translated. Phrasal verbs. These are incredibly common in spoken English and often have meanings that are not obvious from the individual words. Look up, find information, look up to, admire, look down on, not respect. They are tricky, but super important. Don't try to learn them all at once. Focus on the most common ones you hear when you listen. Idioms. Phrases whose meaning cannot be guessed from the literal words. It's raining cats and dogs. Raining very heavily. Again, focus on the ones you hear often. Conversational chunks. These are ready-made phrases that native speakers use all the time, making it easier to speak without building every sentence from scratch. Things like, "What you think about that?" "I totally agree." "Could you give me a hand?" "I'm not really sure if..." Using these smooths out your speech and makes you sound more authentic. Let me introduce you to Chloe, a lively and curious student from Japan, living in Vancouver. Chloe had a very good understanding of Japanese grammar and words, but found herself constantly stopping in English conversations, always looking for the right phrase. She would say, "I feel like I'm building every single sentence from zero, every time. It's exhausting. I know the words separately, but they just don't seem to click together naturally." I suggested Chloe become a phrase hunter. She started carrying a small notebook everywhere, or using a special note-taking app on her phone. Whenever she heard a native speaker use a phrase, or a small group of words that sounded natural and common, she'd jot it down right away, no matter what it was. It could be "sounds good," or "I'm really looking forward to it," or "that's a tough one." She wouldn't just write the phrase, she'd also note the situation in which it was used, and, if possible, a very short example sentence. Then, at the end of each day, she'd look over her phrase harvest and make a clear effort to use at least one or two of these new phrases in her inner talk, or even in a short message to her language partner the next day. This direct, active way of collecting and immediately using natural groups of words quickly grew her active speaking vocabulary. Her conversations became less about individual words and more about flowing natural expressions, and she felt a big jump in her confidence. As a practical step, for the next week, become a phrase hunter. Whenever you're listening to English, find and write down 3 to 5 new chunks of language that sound natural and useful. These could be collocations, phrasal verbs, or common conversational expressions. Then, for each phrase, try to create 1 or 2 original sentences using it, and say those sentences out loud, even if it's just to yourself. This careful practice will quickly move these chunks into your active speaking memory. Pillar 3, the power of imitation. Shadowing and mimicry. We talked about shadowing as a listening tool, but it is an absolute game changer for speaking. Shadowing is the practice of listening to a native English speaker and then trying to speak along with them at the same time, copying their rhythm, how their voice goes up and down, how they say words, and even their pauses. It's like being a language parrot, but a very clever parrot. Why shadowing is so powerful on a deeper level. Shadowing works because it connects your ear, your brain, and your mouth in a direct loop. Muscle training. It teaches the muscles in your mouth and tongue to move in the specific ways needed for English sounds, rhythm, and how your voice goes up and down without having to think hard about what to say. You're learning the physical way of speaking. Natural rhythm and voice flow. English is a language where certain parts of words and certain words are stressed more than others, and the voice goes up and down in specific ways. Shadowing helps you learn these patterns naturally. You start to feel the music of English, which makes your speech sound less like a robot and more real. Connected speech mastery. Remember those tricky connected speech things like gonna for going to, or missing to sounds in next time. When you shadow, you naturally start to say these shorter words and connections, which then makes them easier to understand when you hear them. It's a two-way street for understanding and speaking. Speaking speed adaptation. Shadowing forces you to speak at a native pace. This teaches your brain to understand and say words more quickly, making that frustrating delay in real talks shorter. How to shadow. Effectively. Choose the right audio. Pick something that is just a little harder than your comfortable listening level. Ideally, something with a clear speaker and a written copy available. Podcasts, short news reports, YouTube videos, or even short parts from TV shows with clear talking are excellent. Start small, begin with very short parts. 15 to 30 seconds at a time. It's intense. So don't try to shadow a whole hour-long podcast at first. The process. First, listen. Listen to the part once to get the main idea. Second, listen. Listen again. And this time, try to speak along at the same time as the speaker. Don't worry about perfect pronunciation or understanding every word. Focus on matching the rhythm, the speed, and how your voice goes up and down. Try to sound exactly like them, like a copycat. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Play the same 15-second clip 5, 10, 15 times, trying to get closer to the original each time. Check with transcript after many repetitions. If you want to really understand the specific words and how they are said, look at the written copy. See what words you missed or heard wrong, and then go back to shadowing that same part for a few more rounds. This is where you connect the sound to the written word. As a practical step, find a short audio clip, 1 to 2 minutes, of a native English speaker that you like. It could be from a podcast, a YouTube video, or an online news report. Listen to the first 30 seconds. Then, rewind and play it again, trying to speak along with the speaker, matching their rhythm, their speed, their pauses, and how their voice goes up and down. Do this 5 times for that same 30-second segment. Focus less on individual words and more on the overall flow and sound. You'll be amazed at how quickly your mouth starts to feel more comfortable forming English sounds at speed. Pillar 4. Active output. Creating your own English. Beyond just taking in English, you need to actively produce it. This is where you change what you know into language you can actually use. This part is about getting your mouth moving and your brain making original English. Talking to yourself. Yes, we've talked about it before, but let's make this practice even better. It's not just simple talking to yourself, it's about having complex inner talks. Debate yourself. Pick a topic you care about that has different opinions. Talk about both sides of the argument to yourself in English. On the one hand, I believe that working from home is better because, however, on the other hand, it might make people feel less connected at work because. This makes you use words that link ideas, show differences, and build more complex sentences without thinking too much. Role-play situations. Imagine a difficult talk you have coming up, a job interview, or a phone call to customer service. Practice it out loud, playing both parts. What questions will they ask? How will you answer? How will you make things clear? This builds confidence for specific situations. Give quick speeches. Pick a random thing in your room. Give yourself 60 seconds to talk about it in English. Describe it. Talk about what it's for, where it came from, or how you feel about it. This is fantastic for learning to think and speak without planning. Recording yourself. Your powerful helper. This is perhaps one of the most helpful yet often avoided practices. It can feel strange and a bit scary to listen to your own recorded voice, but it gives you very important information. Let me share the story of Daniel, a quiet but strong software engineer from Brazil who was working remotely with an American team. Daniel felt his spoken English was holding him back from truly taking part in team discussions, especially during video calls. He was often unsure, felt he spoke too slowly, and struggled with how his voice went up and down. "When I hear myself talk, I just cringe," he admitted to me. "It sounds so flat, so unnatural, and I make so many silly mistakes that I don't even notice when I'm speaking." I suggested Daniel become his own self-auditor, a careful watcher of his own speech. Every day, he would choose a short article, a part from a book, or even just describe his morning routine and record himself speaking for 3 to 5 minutes. The first few times, he could barely listen to himself, but then I gave him a specific plan for looking at his speech. First, listen. Listen to the recording without stopping. Just focus on how natural it sounds, where you pause, where your voice goes up or down, and if your message is clear. Second, listen. This time, listen with a pen and paper. Write down any words you said wrong often, any grammar mistakes you hear, parts where you stopped a lot, phrases that sounded unnatural or too direct. Notice where your voice was flat, or where you might have ended a question with a voice going down. Practice and re-record based on his notes. Daniel would then practice those specific hard words, or say those awkward sentences in a better way. And then he'd re-record the same 3 to 5 minute part, trying to use the corrections. This careful self-checking process was a big discovery for Daniel. He started noticing patterns in his speech that he didn't know about. He realized he often forgot the S at the end of action words for he, she, or it, or that he always used a flat voice at the end of questions. As he practiced and re-recorded, he started hearing a clear improvement in how easily he spoke, how natural he sounded, and how sure of himself he felt. His team members also noticed, saying good things about his increased participation and clarity in calls. Daniel's story is strong proof that taking the brave step to record and carefully check your own speech is one of the quickest ways to find weak spots and get better faster. As a practical step, pick a topic you know well and talk about it out loud for 2 minutes. Record yourself using your phone. Then, listen back twice. The first time, just listen for the overall flow and how natural you sound. The second time, actively listen for specific things. Do your sentences flow smoothly? Are there pauses where they shouldn't be? Do you have rising or falling intonation at the end of your sentences? Do you repeat certain words too much? Choose one small thing to work on and try recording it again. This self-reflection is incredibly powerful. Summarizing and retelling. making your brain work faster. This practice directly connects listening and speaking, making your brain quickly understand information and then immediately say it in your own words. Listen to a short clip and summarize. Find a short English news report, 1 to 2 minutes, a brief story from a podcast, or even just a friend explaining something. Listen once or twice, then immediately pause and try to summarize the main points in 1 to 2 sentences out loud. Focus on getting the main idea out quickly. Retell a story. Listen to a slightly longer story, 3 to 5 minutes. Then, try to tell the whole story again in your own words. Don't worry about every small detail. Focus on the order of events, the main people, and the key ideas. This makes your storytelling skills stronger and helps you connect ideas smoothly. As a practical step, find a very short English video, under 2 minutes, on YouTube about a topic you find interesting. Watch it once, and then immediately, without looking at notes. Pause the video and try to explain what you just watched to an imaginary friend. If you have a real friend or language partner, even better. Focus on telling the story or explaining the idea clearly and simply, even if you stop a bit. This quick remembering and speaking are very important for real-time conversation. Responsive drills. Practicing for real talks. This practice builds your ability to answer quickly and without planning, making you stop less. Rapid Q&A. Find a list of common questions for talking. Set a timer for 10 to 15 seconds for each question. Read or listen to the question, and then force yourself to answer out loud within that time. Don't stop yourself, just say something. The goal is speed and saying what comes to mind, not being perfect. Simulated dialogues. Use a language learning app that has pretend conversations, or find online things with conversation starters. Imagine you are in the conversation and answer as if you were truly talking to someone. Even with the best ways to learn and practice by yourself, talking to real people is very important. You need to use your English by talking to others. Sometimes finding these chances feels hard, especially if you're not in an English-speaking place. But remember, the world is more connected than ever before, and opportunities are often closer than you think. Retell a story. Listen to a slightly longer story, 3 to 5 minutes. Then, try to tell the whole story again in your own words. Don't worry about every small detail. Focus on the order of events, the main people, and the key ideas. This makes your storytelling skills stronger and helps you connect ideas smoothly. As a practical step, find a very short English video, under 2 minutes, on YouTube about a topic you find interesting. Watch it once, and then immediately, without looking at notes. Pause the video and try to explain what you just watched to an imaginary friend. If you have a real friend or language partner, even better. Focus on telling the story or explaining the idea clearly and simply, even if you stop a bit. This quick remembering and speaking are very important for real-time conversation. Responsive drills. Practicing for real talks. This practice builds your ability to answer quickly and without planning, making you stop less. Rapid Q&A. Find a list of common questions for talking. Set a timer for 10 to 15 seconds for each question. Read or listen to the question, and then force yourself to answer out loud within that time. Don't stop yourself, just say something. The goal is speed and saying what comes to mind, not being perfect. Simulated dialogues. Use a language learning app that has pretend conversations, or find online things with conversation starters. Imagine you are in the conversation and answer as if you were truly talking to someone. Even with the best ways to learn and practice by yourself, talking to real people is very important. You need to use your English by talking to others. Sometimes finding these chances feels hard, especially if you're not in an English-speaking place. But remember, the world is more connected than ever before, and opportunities are often closer than you think. Let me introduce you to Sam, a passionate environmental activist from Rio de Janeiro. Sam's biggest goal was to go to international meetings and work with groups around the world. But his biggest fear was speaking English in front of people, especially native speakers. He felt he didn't speak smoothly or with enough confidence for such important talks. He would tell me, "I can write papers in English, but when it comes to saying my urgent ideas in a discussion, my voice just gets small. I need more chances to speak, but I don't know where to find them regularly." I encouraged Sam to become a networker, not just for work connections, but for English-speaking friends. Online language exchange apps. Sam started by using apps like Tandem and HelloTalk. Instead of just writing messages, he actively looked for people who wanted to send short voice notes or even have 5 to 10-minute voice calls. He focused on people who were learning Portuguese, so they both had a reason to talk, which reduced the pressure. He scheduled consistent weekly calls, making it a fixed part of his schedule. Online communities for his interests. Beyond language apps, Sam looked for online groups and chat rooms related to environmental science and helping the environment, but where the main language was English. He started by just reading and listening, but then bravely joined a few voice chats during online workshops or informal discussions. He wasn't the best speaker at first, but by actively listening and jumping in with even short things to say, he gradually built up his confidence. Virtual tutors, talks coaches. For specific help with how to say words and personal advice, Sam spent some money on a few lessons with an online English teacher who was good at helping people speak in public. This was particularly helpful for fixing old mistakes and practicing specific ways to deliver ideas. Local opportunities. Even in a city where English wasn't the main language, Sam found ways. He joined a local hiking group that occasionally had international members or tourists. He started volunteering at a local community center that sometimes hosted English-speaking events or helped international visitors. He also looked for conversation tables or get-togethers, often organized by universities or cultural centers in his city, specifically for English practice. Sam's active and varied way of finding chances to speak changed how confident he felt. He learned to start conversations, to easily ask for things to be clearer. "Could you rephrase that for me, please?" And to even contribute spontaneously to discussions. Within a year, he was not only going to those international meetings, but actively taking part in group discussions, sharing his ideas with passion in clear, confident English. His journey highlights that consistent effort to find and create chances to speak, even from unexpected places, is vital for true fluency. Navigating nerves with native speakers. It's normal to feel worried when talking to native English speakers. They often speak quickly, use many common sayings, and you might feel scared. But remember, most native speakers are incredibly kind and patient. Start with a simple phrase. Don't wait for them to ask you a question. Start with something simple. "Hi, how are you today?" Or, "Excuse me, could you give me a hand with something?" Don't be afraid to ask for clarity. If you don't get something, it's perfectly fine to ask. "Could you say that again, please?" Or, "Could you speak a little slower?" Or, "What does that mean?" Native speakers like that you are trying and want to learn. Focus on the message, not perfection. They care about understanding what you mean, not about your perfect grammar. If you mess up, just keep going. Watch and copy. Pay attention not just to their words, but to how they move their body, how their voice goes up and down, and how they talk. Try to gently copy them. Let me tell you about Elena, a chef from Italy. Elena moved to a small town in England because she got a job at a lovely local restaurant. She was great at cooking, but her English speaking was a bit shaky. She could understand recipes and talk about food ingredients just fine, but when customers started chatting about their day or telling jokes, she often felt lost. She'd nod and smile, but inside she felt like she was missing out on the real connections. One evening, a regular customer, an older lady with a very strong local accent, started telling a long story about her cat. Elena caught some words, like cat and mischievous, but the rest was a blur of fast, local speech. She felt her face get hot, and she just wanted to disappear into the kitchen. The next day, she decided to change things. I suggested she start a local talk log. Every time she heard a customer use a phrase she didn't quite get, or if they spoke in a way that confused her, she'd quickly write it down after they left. She'd also make a note of the situation. For example, she wrote down, "pulling my leg," when a customer joked with her. Later, she looked it up and found it meant teasing me. She started watching local TV shows and listening to local radio, focusing on the accents and common phrases. She even asked her kind boss, "What does chuffed to bits mean?" when she heard a customer say it. Her boss, a friendly man, was happy to explain it meant very pleased. Slowly, Elena started to pick up on the local rhythm and the common sayings. She learned that proper could mean very or really, and that sorted meant everything is arranged. One busy Saturday, the same older lady came in. This time, she started talking about her garden. Elena not only understood her, but when the lady mentioned a big problem with slugs, Elena bravely said, "Oh, that's a real pain, isn't it?" Using a common English expression she'd heard. The lady's eyes lit up and she smiled. "Aye, it's a right pain." Elena felt a warm glow inside. She wasn't just serving food, she was truly connecting. Her English wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was enough. This story shows how diving into local speech, even just a little bit each day, can open up a whole new world of connection. And here's another story about Hiroki, a passionate gamer from Tokyo. Hiroki loved playing online video games, especially team-based strategy games. He was pretty good, but he often felt frustrated because he couldn't communicate effectively with his teammates, who were from all over the world and mostly spoke English. In his English classes, he was quiet, worried about grammar and sounding awkward. But in games, when the pressure was on and his team needed to coordinate quickly, he had to speak. He couldn't just type, he needed to shout out commands, ask for help, or explain strategies in real time. At first, it was rough. He'd say things like, "enemy, there, left," or "need help, me." His teammates were patient, but sometimes they'd lose a game because of misunderstandings. Hiroki decided to use his gaming passion to improve his English. He started listening intently to how his teammates spoke, picking up common gaming phrases like pushing B, covering my flank, or watch out. He'd repeat them to himself, then try to use them in the next game. He also started watching English-speaking gamers on YouTube and Twitch, not just for the game, but for how they talked casually, how they expressed excitement or frustration. He learned contractions like don't and can't, and common filler words like and you know, that made his speech sound more natural. One evening, during a really intense match, Hiroki found himself effortlessly yelling, "They're gonna flank us from the right! I got your back! Push through!" After the game, his teammates, who he'd only known through voice chat, were genuinely impressed. "Dude, your English is getting really good," one of them said. That simple compliment was a huge confidence boost for Hiroki. He realized that because he was focused on the game, the fear of making mistakes had taken a back seat. He was just communicating. His passion had given him a powerful reason and a low-pressure environment to practice, and it paid off big time. This story really drives home the idea that finding a passion or hobby where you need to use English can be a game changer for your speaking skills. The journey to speaking English easily, with confidence and naturally. It's not a fast run, it's a long race, a beautiful, changing adventure. There will be days when you feel very motivated, when words come out easily, and then there will be days when it feels slow, when you stumble, when you wonder if you're getting better. This is completely normal. It's part of any deep learning. The key to long-term success, to truly reaching your speaking potential, is patience and always trying, and remembering your deeper why. Think of a majestic old tree. It doesn't grow tall and strong overnight, does it? It grows slowly, steadily, day by day, through sunshine and rain, through strong winds and quiet moments. Each tiny root it spreads, each new leaf it opens, is a step towards its towering size. Your English speaking ability is just like that tree. Every talk you have, every phrase you learn, every mistake you bravely make and learn from, these are the small forces, the quiet food, that are building your fluency. Connecting back to your why. On those hard days, when frustration whispers in your ear, take a moment to remember why you started this journey in the first place. Is it to travel the world and meet people from different cultures? Is it to do better in your job and work on international projects? Is it to enjoy movies and books without needing the words on the screen? Is it simply for the pure joy and personal satisfaction of learning a new skill? Hold that picture clearly in your mind. Let your why be your guide, your anchor, your strong reason to keep going. It's the fuel that will push you when the path feels steep. Celebrating milestones. Beyond just speaking easily. We've talked about celebrating small wins, but it's also super important to notice your bigger successes. Maybe you managed to have your first 15-minute talk completely in English, or you successfully handled a tricky situation with a native speaker, or you gave a presentation in English at work. These are huge achievements. Don't let them pass by without noticing. Give yourself credit. Share your success with a friend or family member who supports you. These big moments are proof, clear evidence of how far you've come. They build real, lasting confidence. And finally, embrace the tough middle part. In any learning journey, there are often times when you feel like you're not getting better as fast as you'd like. This is the tough middle part, between being a beginner and being very good. It can be frustrating, but remember, even when you feel like you're not making clear progress, your brain is still working. It's thinking, putting things together, learning deeply. Just keep showing up, keep practicing, keep listening. Even tiny steps during these times are still moving forward. Your commitment, your courage, and your steady effort are the true engines of your English speaking success. It is not about perfect grammar every single time. It's about the connection, the communication, the pure bravery of using your voice to bring cultures together, to share ideas, to express your unique self. So, my dear English learners, as we finish this deep look into how to talk in English, I want to leave you with one final powerful thought. Speaking English isn't just a skill you learn, it's a life-changing journey, one that makes you more confident, opens up your world, and connects you to a truly global community. The words you speak, even if they're not perfect at first, are strong bridges, connecting you to new people, new ideas, and new chances. Remember the main message we've explored today: be brave, not perfect. Let go of that fear of making mistakes, because every single error is a teacher, a stepping stone on your way to speaking easily. Change how you think to speaking easily over being perfectly correct. Prioritize keeping the conversation flowing, getting your message out, instead of making flawless sentences. Teach your brain to think directly in English, skipping that slow translation step. Become a keen phrase hunter, collecting and actively using those natural groups of words. Use the power of shadowing to copy native rhythm and how their voice goes up and down. And use active speaking by talking to yourself, recording your voice, and summarizing what you hear. And, very importantly, actively look for and bravely try every single chance to speak that comes your way, big or small. You have already come so far. You understand this complex language. You can read it. You can probably write it. Now, it's time to truly use it, to make it sing through your voice. The journey might feel long at times. It will have its good days and its hard days. But I promise you, it is worth every single step. Because with every word you bravely say, with every sentence you confidently form, you are building a brighter, more connected, and more open future for yourself. Thank you very much for joining me today on Best English Podcast. I truly hope this incredibly detailed episode has given you the courage, the inspiration, and the real ways to learn that you need to unlock your speaking power. If you found this episode helpful, and I truly hope you did, please do me a huge favor and like this video. Your likes truly help our podcast reach more amazing learners just like you. Also, comment below with one new way to practice you're going to try this week, or a small speaking success you've recently had. I love reading them, and they inspire future episodes. And, of course, please subscribe to Best English Podcast so you don't miss any of our daily tips, lessons, and inspiring stories. Your support truly helps us grow and continue creating valuable content for the Best English Podcast community. Keep listening, keep learning, and most importantly, keep talking, because your voice in English is a beautiful thing that the world is waiting to hear. Until next time, happy speaking.